Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. YouTube, Arne, what's going on, boss?
Howdy.
This is another episode of Just Drive Cars in Life. I'm your host, Naveed. We got Brian in the house. We've already mentioned Arne, so we don't have to mention again.
Howdy.
Mr. Cannonball himself. What's going on, boss?
Not much. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, it was a really interesting journey for us coming all the way from Dallas, Texas, just to meet you in Gilbert, Illinois.
Yeah.
So that drive, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Just getting out of Chicago is a little bit of
Yeah.
a nerve-wracking moment, but it kind of reminds us of Dallas.
Yeah, we do have our interesting drives and interesting traffic
yeah.
as well.
Yeah, that's why I'm all the way out here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, Arne did mention that we have to bring the warm weather out here, so
Yeah, and it's snowing right now.
yeah.
So
So
failed.
Yeah, we did. Pretty bad.
sorry about that. We won't come out here again if that's the case.
But we did get to push in a 765 LT, right? In the snow.
Yeah,
we did.
that's right.
Yeah,
It was fun.
Well,
So-
that's what car community people do. They help
That's
each
right.
other out
That's
regardless. Yeah. So I don't see a problem with that.
No. I enjoyed it, actually. A little out of wind, but I liked it. It was good.
No, so once again, it's an honor and a privilege to meet you. So in person, finally. So
Yeah.
once again, thank you for having us here. But let's start with the first question: Gold Rush, rallies, Cannonball. When did you start? How did you start? Why?
Well, Cannonball was always something I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing it as a kid, the movie, then realizing that it was actually like a real thing. So
Mhm.
that kind of always stuck with me. And
Mhm.
I kind of gravitated towards the police countermeasures end of things. Like that is my passion, is kind of like, flying under the radar, figuratively and literally.
Which I was always wanted to ask, because on your Instagram I see those cop cars and so on and so forth, like Blues Brothers, like that cop cars. Like I'm just like, as a kid, did you always want to portray yourself as a cop, even when it came to cars?
No, I think my obsession with cop cars comes from the movie The Blues Brothers.
Nice.
I grew up in Mount Prospect, Illinois, and if you know the movie well, the car was supposed to be a Mount Prospect police car.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember as a young kid, like that's cool. Like here I am from this small town, and they're talking about it in the movie.
Yeah.
So I think that's where my obsession with police cars came in. Is like the Bluesmobile has like magical powers.
Right.
So I think that's how that all started.
Well, obviously you got to have that suit, the tie, the black, Ray-Bans and the hat. So that's
Yeah.
yeah.
So getting back to your question about how did I get involved?
Right.
Well, I always wanted to have the best radar detector and a CB radio in my car, and this is like the mid '90s, early 2000s, and what really brought it back to life was Alex Roy breaking the record in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, this is like a real thing, and I was just chomping at the bit. What information can I get? And obviously, he wrote a book,
Mm-hmm.
came out with a movie, and I was just itching for any amount of information I could get about Cannonball. And then Ed Bullion came in. He broke the record in 2013, and I was really hoping that there would be a movie or something. But that's kind of what reignited like the idea of actually doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know if there was some sort of like underground community that was still doing these things.
Mhm.
How do you get in?
Mm-hmm.
But what I ended up finding was the 2904, which is like the 24 hours of lemons meets the Cannonball. You have to build a car, pay for fuel and everything for
Mhm.
$2,904, which
Mhm.
is the distance from New York to San Francisco.
Mhm.
So $1 a mile Cannonball really is what it is. And there are things outside the budget. You could do a fuel cell, any safety related things. So, if you've got, you're upgrading the brakes, suspension, wheels, tires, that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
that is okay to do. But so I applied to be in that race and I got in, and I only got in because you had to apply via email. You just had to say who you are, why you wanted to do this. And John Ficara, the organizer of the race, Googled my name, and he saw that I had the world's fastest hearse. I had an A-Team van, a Bluesmobile, and so he messaged me back. He says, "Hey, are you the Arne with these vehicles?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "I think you're in the right place."
Oh, wow, that's funny.
So that was 2015, and I remember when he told me that you're in, And I started talking to him a little bit about the event. And my plan was to dissect the rules and build the best car possible. And what I thought for this budget was get like a $500 Crown Victoria and go to town with all the safety stuff, basically rebuild the car completely and go from there. But he did tell me, he's like, there's a special guest coming to this 2904 event this year. And, I'm thinking like, well, who is that? It's like Alex Roy, Ed Bullion, is it Burt Reynolds? I don't know.
Right, yeah.
And what I ended up finding was 2 weeks before the event, Ed Bullion comes out with this giant blog post of this twice salvaged 11-owner S55 AMG that he somehow got within the rules of this race. So, immediately I'm panicking, like, oh, like here I thought I was, I like to take things to the nth degree, like totally think about everything. I'm like, how did this guy do this?
It pisses you off a lot here because you put in the time, you put in the energy. You're like, dude, I got this. And then lo and behold, Ed comes up and just like smacks you in the face. You're like, dude, come on, man.
He legitimately put that car together and he documented it all. And sure enough, so I ended up running against Ed in the 2904 in 2015, and he ended up going 32 hours and 5 minutes. We got kind of a bad start time, so it put us in LA during rush hour, and we ended up with 33 hours and 3 minutes. So after that run in the parking lot of the Portofino, that's when Ed approached me and said, hey, you really impressed us with how fast you went. We saw your car. We're like, how fast can this guy possibly go? So that's when he invited me into this underground like Facebook group called Cannonballers. So from there on out, I was in.
Holy shit. Okay.
That's awesome.
So you just can't just wake up and say, I want to do the Cannonball run, basically. Like you have to go through so
Secret
many...
society type of thing?
Well, yes and no. To get into these like these organized events, these cheap car cannonballs, old car cannonballs, you pretty much have to know somebody or whatnot. But if you want to go after the overall record, you really don't need to know anybody. You can, it's a free country. You're able to go out and do whatever you like. But generally, anyone who's serious about making a record attempt, what they do is, Ed is, I hold the record now. Ed helped, whatever, that's up for grabs.
Exactly.
But Ed is still like the godfather of Cannonball, to everybody. So really the proper channel would be contact Ed, maybe contact me, and just let me know, or let us know that you're planning to do this. And what we'll do is we'll have them, we'll kind of explain to them the level of documentation they need. But what we need most is there's an app called Glimpse, and that's where you're able to share your GPS location with, with people. So we'll ask them like, hey, when you get there, send us your Glimpse feed, and we'll watch them, via the app leave Manhattan. We have a spreadsheet, and we'll, there's a kind of like an underground council of cannonballers that will watch, your attempt and, kind of like say, okay, I saw them cross the Pennsylvania border at this time. So there's all this documentation.
That's interesting. So documentation is the key basically to everything.
Yeah. If you're going to spend, all this time, money, effort, everyone who has broken the record has a higher level of documentation. Like, Alex had, witnesses at the front and the back, the GPS and everything. So, Ed stepped that up a little bit more with some more advanced GPS data. And then for like us in 2019, when we broke Ed's record in the Mercedes, we actually had a live stream. Like we had a private live stream that 100 people watched, and we've got time and data stamp pictures at the start and the finish. Gas receipts, people watching the Glimpse feed. I also had a third-party GPS tracker. So everyone who's done it has gone to a higher level of documentation. As these times get faster, it's like you kind of need to prove that.
Well, ultimately, it comes to the safety factor as well. You got to be safe in order to get this thing done. So I'm pretty sure, besides all the factors of the documentation, the car itself has to most likely have to be safe as possible too.
Yeah, that's since there really is no governing body, we all try to let people understand that Cannonball has a 50-year track record of safety. You know, and it's like, don't be the guy who screws that up, because if somebody goes out and something happens, that puts a black eye on me and everyone who's ever done this in the past, you know, going all the way back to the 70s.
Exactly. No, that's shucks. I don't even know how they did it back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, now with the modern technology that we have and the advancement of, you know, roads, that they're safer, and obviously technology by itself.
Vehicles are so much safer now. I have a question. What made you pick the Mercedes to go after it for the big one?
You know, you want something that's, you know, indescript. You want something that's really fast, good brakes, handling, and, you know, I think the E63 AMG is the ultimate Cannonball car.
Yeah.
Interesting. Over an M5?
Yeah, I would say so.
Or an RS7?
Or an RS7.
Well, I would say the RS7 is probably maybe it's probably a 1A and 1B maybe. I don't know.
The BMW is easy to spot. You know, a BMW looks like a BMW,
right? I mean, we're talking to three guys that has an Audi, that has a Mercedes, and a BMW, but we all have Audis as well. So I think the three of us have different.
We are
opinions.
rolling an Audi in a rental car right now.
That is correct.
It's done pretty well so far. No, but that's it makes a lot of sense. I worked for Mercedes for many years, and so it's cool to see that car. I would really agree with you that car really does everything extremely well.
Yeah, it's you know, obviously now then COVID hit, and you know, someone broke the record by an hour, so we threw together this Audi S6 to made it look like a Ford Taurus.
Right.
We threw that thing together in 3 days. Went out and got the record back. We knocked another hour off of it. But I'll tell you, back to back, like the Mercedes is a much better car.
So the better experience was with the Mercedes versus the Audi?
No, it's better all around. But you're not comparing apples to apples.
No.
You know, an S6 is more compared to like an E550.
Most likely,
you know,
yeah.
If you wanted to compare an AMG to something in the Audi lineup, like an RS7 would be more comparable, which is a better car.
Right.
Or for the money, the Audi S6 is a phenomenal car.
Right.
And you can't beat the way you can disguise it, you know.
Exactly.
We had debadged the Mercedes, and I reshaped the taillights and stuff with vinyl, and it kind of looked like a Honda Accord from the back. But you know, I was able to really disguise that Audi.
Right. Well, for sure. I mean, even on VinWiki, when you were mentioning that, people thought that, oh my God, this cop car just passed right by us. And you're like, no, that's us, buddy.
Yeah, so we were even able to fool some car guys.
And you guys do this in teams, basically? Like, the whole entire setup. How many hours of research did you put into it? That's a fair question.
So, for the 2904, the C2C Express races that I've done, usually I handled logistics in some way. For the big runs, that was mostly Doug. I handled the car, and he kind of handled the logistical end of things.
That's fair. Interesting. What's been your most greatest experience run wise?
Well, there's I guess a lot of them. You know, I guess getting out during COVID, and we ran from Manhattan to Denver. We averaged 120 miles an hour.
Jesus.
And I remember, saying to Doug, I'm like, if we don't even get this record back, just being out on these roads is something that you'll never experience again, because this was later in COVID. We did it in May, but still in New York, we got out of New York at 4.5 minutes, and there was in New Jersey they were talking about curfews and everything else. So people at that point, people were still very scared of COVID, not knowing what it was, and I think we would, if it was a month earlier, I think the golden weekend was probably April 4th, when my E63 got destroyed, and when something broke.
Because you were ready to go until you found out that it got hit. Or when it got hit, yeah. So
that car would have. I think that if my car wouldn't have got totaled April 4th, I lost a record to the guys in the white Audi A8. I think I would have just went out the next weekend, And I probably in that car, I think we could have done 24 hours flat.
Wow, really?
During COVID, yeah, maybe faster.
Holy cow!
Now the modifications, obviously, on both cars, you did quite a bit on both of them for power, for, I'm sure, suspension and handling, auxiliary tanks. the radar systems, jammers, all those things. Can you kind of shed a little bit of light on both cars and how they were alike and some were different?
Well, the E63 was an Alpha 9 package, which is that car was tuned to about 700 wheel horsepower. I had it detuned a little bit, so you could run it on 91 octane, a little safer. The Audi was I never put it on the dyno. I still haven't put it on the dyno. I'm guessing it's 600 wheel horsepower, maybe low 600s. So it's the Audi's a little less powerful, but that car's got RS7 turbos on it, an Alpha intercooler, downpipes. So they're both they both have turbos, downpipes, exhaust, tune. So I guess similarly modified. Mercedes, as far as technology, I mean, both cars are pretty much the same. CB radio, police scanner, 2 radar detectors, ALP, laser jammers on both cars.
Jeez.
They're both outfitted pretty quickly. I had a little more time. I had a lot more time with the E63 to kind of sort it out. I'd done a lot of rallies with that car. We had broken the Southern Trail record from Jacksonville to San Diego as a test of the car prior. So that car had a lot of testing on it. Comparatively speaking, the Audi was just kind of thrown together, on a wing and a prayer.
But it worked out at the very end. I mean,
the video on YouTube is it's mind blowing how you guys transformed that Audi to make it look like undercover vehicle in a way, and just the way you guys put it all together was pretty awesome. Just the kind of the ingenuity of changing up some look.
The idea. I mean, the
like that
ideas,
was just,
I think you can't find that every single day. It just comes to say, we're going to get an Audi. It's going to look
you
like
probably saw a lot of people like doing this or slowing down around you or.
Yeah, the car, a lot of car guys, when this whole story came out, were like, that doesn't look like a Ford Taurus. Like, well,
come on,
no
dude.
kidding, right? I had a few days, and I did the best I could.
Right.
But when the thing's ripping up the left lane behind you, some people move, but I've found that police cars in general, it's kind of a double-edged sword because people become, they'll slow down.
Well, as soon as you see a Crown Vic, a white one or a black one, you're just like, oh shit.
You're looking for wheels.
You're looking for wheels. You're looking for
antennas,
sticker, and then it's just a local kid from high school that's driving
holographic,
it.
Holographic sticker, decal, something. Yeah.
So how much it helped as far as getting people out of the way? Maybe a little bit.
Right.
To me, the problem is people calling you in.
Right.
So that was, if a car like my Audi went by and it's got reflective chevrons on the bumper, antennas, most people would think it's a police car. So I think that's why, we were able to kind of get away with a lot of what we were doing.
Yeah.
That experience is just awesome.
The ideas.
I can't stop talking about it. But so you've had your good experience. Tell me your worst experience.
Well, probably the worst experience, I guess, would be when my car got totaled and 12 hours later losing the record. Just like I couldn't. Seemingly, I'm like, well, I'm done. Am I gonna? I don't have a car.
What was your first initial reaction when you found out your record was broken?
I'm like, wow, really? I thought that. I remember saying, I'm like, maybe God's telling me, like, you're done. It's like you did what you did. But,
were you like calling people just saying, dude, is this for real or is this bullshit? Because I don't want to deal with this again if I have to.
Yeah, that was a tough time, and at the time, Doug's wife had told him, like, you're retired.
Right, exactly.
She didn't want him doing that anymore. So,
correct.
I started looking for, I sulked for a couple days, and then I'm like, okay, I gotta do something. So, I started looking around. At the time, Doug was selling a Corvette that Troy had tried to break Ed's record with back in like 2018. So he had this like prepped 2016 Stingray Corvette that Doug was actually selling for him. So I'm like, okay, well, like, secure me the car. I'm going to find a driver. And I started talking to Alex Roy's co-driver, Dave Maher, and we were trying to kind of work things out. But he was in college, take some classes, had some tests. Like, we couldn't get it to line up. And pretty soon after, Doug's wife actually like called him and said, I don't like how this went down. and I think that you should go again. So then
Knock on
it
wood for Doug's
was on.
life, right? Holy cow!
So all that was happening. I spent about a week trying to prep this Corvette to make the run. It was supposed to be ready for a run, but we ended up finding out why they ran out of fuel on their second attempt. Is whoever did the fuel system kind of messed things up, and it wasn't pulling fuel from the one saddle tank.
Mm-hmm.
So we're sorting this out during COVID, and I remember taking it for the first test drive, and we were supposed to go that week.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Monday night or a Sunday night, and I went out and took the car, and I'm like, the car just didn't track right. It didn't feel right. And I remember calling Doug. I'm like, I'm not taking this, fiberglass coffin across across the country. So that's when I called my buddy Eric, who had the Audi S6, and I said, I need your car. And thankfully, he just bought a GTR. He's like, yeah, I was thinking about selling it. 30 minutes later, I was there, picked it up. Yeah.
Nice.
Wow. Now, you're obviously a car guy. We're all car guys too. A lot of people are watching this, or they're big into the car community. What was your very first car?
My first car was a '77 Oldsmobile Cutlass.
Oh,
with T-tops, bucket seats.
Nice.
Interesting.
So you definitely things have evolved quite nicely for you over the years. But you have a collection yourself.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a firm believer in quantity over quality.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have like one super nice car. I don't have the attention span, and I kind of wish I was one of those guys that could just like have the one car and like my whole life revolve around it. Like wax it on the weekend and take it to the car show. Like I wish my mind was like wired that way.
Yeah.
But I'm like all over the place.
I feel like I'm that way with my M5 because that's how everybody knows me back in Dallas. It's just, hey, this guy with the blue M5, and the rest is basically history.
I think my wife wishes I was like that.
Really?
Where I had just one.
Yeah, because like I've told this to people. I was like, I want to put so many miles on the M5 that BMW finds out about it, and they're like, V, we just want to appreciate you for driving this M5. Here's a brand new M5.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Or if you drive through a tornado, maybe you might get one.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll survive that, but we'll see.
We'll see about that for sure.
So, of the vehicles you do have right now, what's probably your most prized possession? Your favorite?
My favorite car to drive, I think, would be my Bluesmobile. Being from Chicago, you drive it around Chicago. I'll just dress up as Elwood. My buddy dresses up as Jake. And we'll just drive to downtown Chicago, drive up and down Michigan Avenue, and I've got an external speaker system on the car, 8 Marine speakers on the outside. So I just play the soundtrack, and people dance in the streets, literally.
Right.
That's awesome.
It's free entertainment. I mean, come on, dude. Somebody's gonna. You can't tell me nobody's not gonna look at it. Just say, what the hell is that? They're gonna be like, dude, this is history right here. This is Chicago right here. Come on, man.
That's a video that should be made. If you guys cruising down Michigan Avenue playing that music, people dancing, that has to happen.
Yeah, that'd be all over TikTok the next morning, I bet.
Oh yeah.
But if you could pick one car, as far as handling, performance, the way that you want it built and be happy with it, drive it all across the country. Doesn't matter if you're driving fast, slow. If you could pick one car, what would it be?
E63 Estate.
Why?
I love station wagons and I love E63s. It's best of both worlds.
That's right. See, my wife doesn't like the wagons for some reason, but I love the super wagons.
But the other thing is that a lot of Americans don't like wagons though for some reason. There's only a small, and I think the ones that have the the wagon experience is just because of European lifestyle. You see more wagons over there than you do over here, and so like a friend of mine back in Dallas, he has a Polestar Volvo, and then a friend of his has a wagon, and the wagon seems like it's more props than it does a sedan. But at the end of the day, they're like, well, they're Polestars. So what would you do with it, though, with the E63S? With the wagon, yeah.
With a wagon?
Yeah.
Build another one?
I mean, you could do anything.
Right.
It's also my wife's dream car.
Okay.
Family road trips. The thing does everything well. It's an E63 that has a lot of storage capacity. So
holy cow. Okay, that's fair. How many to all these car shows and car events that you've been to? What's been like if you had, I don't know, top 2, top 3? Like, hey, these are the best car shows in the world, in my personal opinion. Which one would you pick?
I like Radwood.
Okay. Why?
I love the nostalgia of the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
Like that was when I grew up. So
Yeah.
I love that era, and I love that they've put together these car shows,
Mhm.
and it's more about, it's more than just cars.
True.
People
True.
dress up. They bring, their Ataris and just different like toys and things that are to, remind you of the 80s and 90s. And I think that's really cool.
Has there been a car show that you haven't been to yet, but you want to go experience? Like you got Pebblewood, you got SEMA, you got Monaco, you got Dubai, you got Tokyo. Is there one that comes to mind? You're like, dude, I think I got that on my bucket list.
Pebble Beach, probably.
Yeah.
I was just down at Amelia Island, which that was a really great experience, and I hear that Pebble Beach is just a lot better than that one. So.
Yeah,
this guy is classy.
So
he's very classy. I appreciate that about him. I mean, when was the last time that I can't remember me talking to a guy that he says that, dude, I love the 80s, 90s genre. Like that's me right there.
There's one guy in Dallas that literally, so I'm going to go ahead and throw him out there. John Sherman. He has Lamborghini.
Gen X kid?
Okay. Yes, Gen X kid. He dresses, his car is wrapped like we're still in the 80s, and he owns it. Mm-hmm. And honestly, you would love the guy. I think that'd be a really cool,
that's why they call him Gen X. Yeah, because he's Generation X, Yeah. And do you know Richard Rawlings?
No, I've never met him.
So I think Richard Rawlings also did a Cannonball run, but years ago, I think in the early 2000s, he did it with the Ferrari. With Dennis Collins, and I think for a minute there they had the record, and so
they actually didn't.
Really?
Well, yeah. So here's how it went. So Alex Roy actually broke the record in October of 2006.
Okay.
But due to the statute of limitations, he was very paranoid about something happening, legally. Mm-hmm. So he was advised to just hold on to the record for a year. So when Richard Rawlings, quote unquote, broke the record was actually the spring of 2007. He was on Bull Run, and allegedly there was some bet, that you couldn't break the Cannonball record. I don't know.
I see
the truth of it. He has no proof.
Right.
Did he do it? I mean, I don't know. I like to take people at their word. Does it matter? No. But yeah, so allegedly he had gone 31:59, so he had broken the record by 8 minutes. Well, so he got that tattoo and he thought he was on top of the world, thought he had the record. So, but at the year date for Alex, so it's October of 2007 now. So Alex calls Richard and says, hey, I know you thought you broke the record, but I actually broke it in, October of 2006.
Oh.
So Richard Rawlings never, even if he did it and he had proof and everything, he never held the record because Alex had gone 31 hours and 4 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Whoops.
Whoopsie daisies. Well, I guess
if you didn't know, now you know.
Alex got the record.
Okay.
And then, Richard obviously got the fame, right?
What car did Alex have, though?
M5.
The E39, the blue one.
Yeah, 2000 M5.
I mean, that's so impressive, though. I hate to say that. I mean, I'm an M5 guy, and when I hear where somebody can do something with a BMW, I just, I blossom like a red rose because I'm just like, that's how you do it.
But the record holder is in an Audi, so I'm just saying.
I still got to respect it, at the end of the day.
It's held by an Audi that was driven by a guy who likes Mercedes.
That's right.
Right. But German, though.
That's right.
So you got to respect the German. So we got to thank the German family, basically, for building nice cars for us to drive.
But you probably could beat it, though, in a new estate. Just saying.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is there, that's probably the next question, probably, I would say is, I know, obviously, someone would have to beat your record probably to get you to go, you know what, I'm going to try to beat that again. Or have you thought about maybe trying to outdo and do something like 24 hours flat or lower? Or?
I guess it's always out there. That's, I guess, the next big hurdle. It's kind of like the 4-minute mile, can you do it in 24x?
But how do you prepare yourself mentally for that? Like, how is it like? Me and you were talking about it earlier. They're like, dude, we got to do this thing.
We were racing simulators last night.
Oh my gosh!
I thought,
oh man,
at Camille's place, and just racing around. I mean, balls out, you're exhausted. So, I mean, I'm sure you're white knuckling the whole time. Are you guys tracking, going, okay, we're on pace, we're on pace, we're on pace, or?
Yeah, no, we're watching the average speed, and after you've done it so many times, you pretty much, it's old hat. You pretty much know how you're doing, and know how fast you went last time, and need to go faster and stuff. As far as white knuckling it, I don't know. It's I just get in the car and I just subscribe myself to be like, all right, well, for the next 25, 24, 26 hours, like
That's fair.
I'm risking arrest, and you just got to say, all right, well, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Go.
Yeah, exactly. No
Minimal drinks, right? Just few little snacks. I mean,
yeah, your body kind of shuts down because you're running off adrenaline, so it's really not a problem.
Were there times where you're getting frustrated throughout those 24 hours, like at a point because you were just exhausted or fatigued or
traffic,
annoyed?
Yeah, I mean, traffic is the biggest problem.
Yeah.
I would say truck drivers passing each other at a half-mile speed differential is probably the most frustrating thing.
Yeah.
And those are the guys that are going to probably call you in, when they find out that, dude, I'm trying to get in the fast lane. You're in my fast lane. Please pull over.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the biggest challenge is, just the traffic, people in left lane and stuff. Right. So, if we had an Autobahn here in the United States from New York to LA, like Cannonball wouldn't be a thing. Like,
no.
Who would care?
It'd be the common conversation. Like, it would just be like, yeah, dude, I'll get there tomorrow. Like, don't worry. Just wait for it.
So, in stepping out from Cannonball a little bit, but tying a little bit with the name Cannonball Garage, can you give us an idea of kind of what Cannonball Garage is all about?
So Cannonball Garage is mainly McLaren repair, service, modifications, and stuff. So I had found from doing all these rallies, Gold Rush Rally, Ultimate Road Rally, and a lot of people have McLarens, and it's a beautiful car, a great performer, but at the end of the day, it is a British supercar. So they do have some problems, especially early on. Like the MP412C can be pretty problematic. They've gotten a lot better. But what I would find is all of these guys who have these cars would always say, like, I love my car when it's working, but when it's not, it's hard to get into the dealer. There are hardly any dealers. And then there's no independent service shops for McLarens. And reason being is with like Audis, Lambos, you can kind of cheat. You can get like kind of a cheater tool to do diagnostics and stuff. And there's workarounds. With a McLaren, there aren't any workarounds. Anyone who's tried to work on a McLaren quickly realizes, like, I don't want to work on these things. So just knowing that there's a lot of people out there that were frustrated and needed their cars serviced and there was no one to do it, I'm like, well, I'll just, on the front end, spend the money, get the McLaren service tool. There's a special hydraulic bleeding machine you need. And without those two things, like, you pretty much can't work on these things.
Holy cow.
So I was like, seemingly the first, McLaren specific, aftermarket repair shop.
So then would you say that because you found this platform, it sounds like it's your proudest moment, besides holding the record and doing Cannonball, but the fact that you've created this garage and that that you have the opportunity to provide the best service for McLarens in the country, basically. I think it's like that your aha moment, your proud moment, say that, wow, I can help out people that have McLarens out here. Yeah, no, it's been nice to, especially the Chicago Motor Cars, which Perrin, good friend of mine, he sells a ton of these things, and I was telling him my idea, and he's like, man, that's my biggest problem. I sell a lot of used McLarens, and my biggest hurdle is people have heard the stories about not being able to get in the dealership and things like that. Like, if you could solve that problem, he's like, it would help both of us. And it's absolutely come true, because we're in it for a year and a half, and I've got 10, 12 McLarens here, at any given time. It's almost a niche, That's the hardest thing to do in the car community, is find your niche, because that's the only thing that you're going to go based off of, because it's like, nope, I don't need to change anything else. This is good for me. I don't have to advance it, or I don't have to make it more specific. It's just one platform, make it easy. And we noticed there's obviously the whole shop's full of McLarens right now, and a few GTRs, right? Some other clients. Are these McLarens coming from all over the country? Are they all from the state or region area? Most of them are local.
There are quite a few McLarens in the Chicagoland area.
Mhm.
I've got cars. There's one in here right now from Atlanta. There's one in here from Nashville.
Mhm.
So, we do pull them from, other states
That's fair.
here and
That's
there.
cool. That says a lot about what you guys do. Because, I mean, they also have, McLaren, Charlotte. They have other places they could go that could be closer, but obviously they want you to work on the vehicles and your team too. So
Yeah,
that's good.
well, and it helps that we do the aftermarket stuff. We've got a chassis dyno, so
Mhm.
we're able to, do exhausts and tunes and turbos and
I just think the colors on those McLarens are badass. He's like, yeah, I got the M&M edition or Skittles edition out of here in case you want to come and stop by and take a look at it.
Yeah, pulling up in the parking lot, you see GT3 RS, this is a built ZR1 sitting out there as well.
So, McLarens, old school cars, Cannonball. That's Arne right there to sum it all up.
And they don't even touch on what else is going on, which is crazy too. So,
Yeah.
I didn't know if you even wanted to touch on that at all.
Well, yeah. So being in the automotive aftermarket for so long, so I'm the co-founder of AMS Performance,
Mm-hmm.
which we did. We started out with Mitsubishi Eclipse, moved on to Evos, GTRs, did some Mercedes stuff, and started getting into Lambo stuff kind of right before I sold my shares. So I've been in the aftermarket automotive for a long time, and it's a scary time to be just doing automotive performance. You got the EPA is really starting to crack down on things. You've got electric cars, hybrid cars. So I saw that we're kind of at the tail end of things. I don't see a lot of new cars in the near future being able to be modified for various reasons, whether it's government regulation or just in general, like tuning these cars. In BMW especially, I remember when the 2015 M5 came out and nobody could get into this thing. It was like breaking in the Pentagon. Nobody could crack the computer. So the writing was kind of on the wall that this is, probably going to be coming to an end soon. So I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket. So I have a CNC machine shop in addition to in the building here that, you probably hear in the audio, you can hear the machine running back there a little bit. But we do primarily firearm parts. We do some work for the Boring Company and some other companies too.
Interesting. This guy's all over the place.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a whole bunch of other things that like startups and stuff that I'm working on too. But
you guys,
those are the main things.
This man is busy 24/7. I mean, gosh, I don't know how you do it, but I don't think I could be able to do that.
Don't sleep.
Yeah, that's the answer.
That's the answer, basically. No, but this has been a wonderful experience, Arne. So once again, thank you so much. That was a lot of information.
Yeah.
Once you put everything together, you're just like, you got to write a book. I think you got to start doing that.
Yeah, I don't know who's got time for that.
Yeah, no.
I should probably start a YouTube channel, write a book. I should probably do a lot of things. But,
yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. But do you have any questions for us?
No.
Can you guys go home?
Can you guys leave me alone so I can go home and see my family?
Oh my God.
I know. I apologize we have invaded your shop and everything else too, but I appreciate you being so humble about everything and welcoming because this has been obviously a great experience for us. Right. And, us in the community, we want to obviously share your story. Obviously, it's been well documented, but, anytime we mention that, we were coming up here to see you and talk with you about everything. And then, of course, walking into the shop,
It's literally a work of art. I mean, the way they have set it up, it's clean, it's organized, and you literally look. It's like I said, a work of art. And car guys like us, we appreciate when somebody puts attention to detail. And like you mentioned before, the perfectionist gentleman that you are.
Yeah, I'm a little OCD about.
There's nothing wrong with that, It's how you represent yourself, and so that's what definitely matters. And we need people like that in the car community. It's to self-respect like that. You just appreciate it more,
Yeah.
Do you have? Is your garage as clean as his?
No, but I did get a chance to fit all three in there,
right?
For the first time. Since we moved in.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Yeah,
knock on wood.
That's a work in progress. I'm trying to get a bin pack stackable so I can make some room, but that's
Are you gonna buy a McLaren anytime soon and have Arne fix it up for you?
I was looking at the 570S.
That's right.
That's why I got the NSX car.
That's right.
It's a work in progress.
Well, we'll basically have to advertise Cannonball Garage down in Dallas and just say, hey, if you need any McLaren work, you probably got to send it up to Gilbert, Illinois, and have Arne take a look at it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, happy to do it.
Maybe we can open a shop down there for
a satellite location.
Yeah, satellite location. Never know. Autoplex Customs, we work on everything. So maybe that could be a spot for Cannonball Garage too. Who knows?
I am looking to get out of Chicago in the winters, so moving the machine
We'll
shop.
discuss that behind the scenes.
Yeah, who knows?
We can maybe work something out. You never know.
Well, sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, other than that, once again, Arne, thank you so much for having us here, and we should definitely do this again down the road. So thank you for having us.
Doors always open.
This sounds good.
Thank you so much.
You good? We're good. I'm good. Thanks, all guys, for tuning in, and we're bouncing out. So take care, guys.
Yeah.